Hey juniors, we're going to review prepositional phrases this week because I think it's just a good idea that we go back through them just to make sure we're very clear because they're a really important part of our success for grammar this year. If we don't fully understand prepositional phrases, we're not going to be able to be as successful as we need to be. So we're just going to go back through these again today. This one should be pretty quick just because it's review. But follow along with me and we'll do a little bit of a review for prepositional phrases. So first thing, what makes up a prepositional phrase? You have to have a preposition and an object of the preposition. Now your preposition words, remember I gave you that handout that looked like a squirrel. It was made up of all kinds of words. Those are all examples of prepositions. It's an easy way to kind of remember a word that's a preposition is anything a squirrel can do. So it can go across a limb, it can go up a tree, things like that. So any of those words are prepositions. The object of the preposition is the noun or pronoun following a preposition. So like we said, the squirrel went across the tree limb. So across is our preposition. Limb is our object of the preposition because it is the noun following it. It's not the, because the is an article acting like an adjective. Tree, in this case, is describing what kind of limb the squirrel is running across. So that's not going to be our object of the preposition either. So our prepositional phrase in this case starts with our preposition across, ends with our object of the preposition limb. So our prepositional phrases will always end at our object of the preposition. It won't go any further than that, even if there are words after. So what we need to know that's really important about prepositional phrases is that they will never be the subject of a sentence, or at least the object of the preposition in your prepositional phrase will never be the subject of your sentence. So let's put that down. Never contains the subject of the sentence. Never. That's why we cross them out when we're looking for the subject of our sentence. That's why, because they will distract us every time from what the real subject is. So that's why they're important. It never contains the subject of the sentence, and they can distract us from the real subject. Of the sentence. So why do we have these in sentences if they're such a pain in the butt for us? Well, our prepositional phrases add more information. They give us extra details. So here it says, how do prepositional phrases function in a sentence? They function as adjectives or adverbs. And we know that adjectives and adverbs give us more description. They liven up our sentences. They give us more information. So they are important. But now we need to add the extra layer of, well, is my prepositional phrase acting like a subject? Or is it acting like an adjective? Or is it acting like an adverb? So we can do this by trying to figure out what questions a prepositional phrase can answer. So when we look at adjectives. Adjectives answer 4 different questions. They might answer the question, which one? Might answer the question, what kind? It might answer the question, how many or how much? Or it might answer the question, whose? So if the prepositional phrase could answer any of those questions, it's acting like an adjective, so it's describing a noun. So if we go back to across the tree limb, it doesn't answer any of those questions for us, so it has to be an adverb. But we want to know which question it answers. So adverbs answer the questions how, when, where, why, or to what extent. So, when we go back to across the tree limb, it answers the question where. It tells us where the squirrel went. It went across the tree limb. So if we were diagramming, these are going to go under nouns in a diagram. And then adverbs, generally speaking, in its most basic sense, are going to go under a verb in a diagram. Now we'll add to this a little later, but for now, your prepositional phrases are going to be diagrammed either under a noun or a verb. So, if we go to this next question, it says, how do we diagram a prepositional phrase? So we use the construction that looks like this. We have a slanted line that slants down and to the right, connected to a horizontal line. So on the slanted line, you're going to have your preposition. On the horizontal line, you're going to have your object of the preposition. So something that you should notice, horizontal lines always have nouns on them. Now, like in this prepositional phrase up here, we have 2 adjectives that come between our preposition and our object of the preposition. In that case, you're going to have slanted lines underneath your object of the preposition, and you'll put your adjectives there. This is the same if you had adjectives that were describing a subject in your sentence. So typical sentence, subject, line in between indicating our predicate, verb. So you'd have adjectives on diagonal lines underneath it if you had any. Same thing for adverbs if you had any other adverbs. They'd go on a diagonal line underneath the verb. And then your prepositions. You'd put this little construction under the noun or verb that it's describing. Simple enough. All right, so let's practice. So your first practice question, it says, our team scored 3 runs in the last inning. So first things first, let's find our verb. So the verb in this sentence, scored. I'm going to put a V above it. Now, because I want to make sure I have the absolute correct subject of the sentence, I'm going to look for my prepositional phrase. So, I'm going to see that in this sentence, I have the preposition in. So I know that starts my prepositional phrase. Now I need to find the word that ends my prepositional phrase. So that's going to be inning. So, inning is the last word in my prepositional phrase. I'm going to cross it out, even though I'm going to need it a little bit later, just so I'm not distracted from what my subject is. So, I can ask myself now, who scored 3 runs? And it would be the team. So, team is going to be my subject. So now I'm going to diagram the subject, the verb, and the prepositional phrase. So, like always, baseline. My subject goes on the left-hand side. I put my line through to show my predicate begins. My verb is scored. And now I want to figure out where my prepositional phrase should go. So I have in the last inning. So it doesn't answer the question which one, what kind. It doesn't tell me how many or how much. It doesn't tell me whose. So it can't be an adjective. So it's not going to go under team. It has to be an adverb. So it's going to have to go under scored. But I want to know which question it answers. So, in the last inning, how? No. To what extent? No. When? Yes. So this answers the question, when. So I'm going to diagram like this, underscored for in the last inning. So I have preposition line, object of the preposition line. So my preposition is in, my object of the preposition is inning, and then I have the and last, two adjectives between. So I'm going to draw two diagonal lines underneath inning. So I have the and last. And then I'm going to leave 3 runs because I just want to focus on subject, verb, and prepositional phrase at the moment. If you guys flip to the back side of your paper, you have 3 other practice questions. Actually, technically you have 4, but I've given you a bonus point challenge sentence. If you can go through, label this, and diagram it correctly, I'll give you 1 bonus point on this assignment. But I do want you to choose 2 of these 3 practice questions to label and diagram. So you have to do at least 2 of these. This one's optional, but you could get a bonus point. Not a bad idea to just attempt it. You may get it right. Alright guys, so we will go over these tomorrow during class. Might even have a little candy, so we'll see. Let me know if you have any questions.